first one. First one.
Well, I don't want to be redundant. Kevin's already thanked everybody for their help. But I just want to call out a few people again. Come up here and stand with me. Come on. I know, but if I have to. I don't know what I would have done without Sandy. Kelly, would you come up here too? Huh? We were the three amigos this week, and I couldn't have done it without him. Anyway, it was a little stressful. I had a meltdown on Wednesday morning. Kevin can attest to that, but God is so good. The weather was beautiful. Aside from the two wild dogs that nearly took out the wedding cake at the reception, the car accident that happened on the corner of 2nd and the tablecloth starting on fire, nearly burning down the gazebo. But otherwise, the wedding, it was beautiful. I mean, it was so, everything went really well. We had so much help. Lee and Shannon, don't shake your head at me. You guys are rock stars. I appreciate it. Wyatt and Taryn, you guys, you're amazing, amazing. Paul and Chad, you guys with the chairs, you just busted them out, loaded them up. I didn't even know that was cleaned up. I'm like, it's done. Chad, everybody, Tiffany. She and I had a meltdown last night. We're like,
I'm sitting at the table, and I look over, and Shelley and Tiffany are crying. I go, what are you two crying about?
It was, you guys are amazing. I just appreciate everybody that had a hand in it, that helped. Like I said, I didn't mention a lot of people's names. I know we had so much help we couldn't have done it without you. I appreciate it.
You know, on the other end with Shelley, I think Shelley had been communicating with Juliet's mom, Jill, and Jill had a lot on her shoulders to try and plan a wedding many miles away and trying to have food and stuff here and all the preparations for that. So they kind of visited on the phone and decided that Shelley would kind of gather up that food side and that Jill and her side of the family would gather up the decorating side. So we also was adding with Shelley there that Jill and Kurt and I know Nancy and Larry were over there and that side of the family, and others were kind of coming in to help to decorate the things that made everything look so nice. And we thank the Lord for each one, because they all come together to make something possible. And even though I know Shannon, I don't know if you guys noticed last night, but she had something on her pants. And I don't know exactly what the whole story was with that, but I know that she was doing something that was great when all those things happened. So
I can tell you the story.
Do you want to come up, Lee? Come up and tell.
She was near it.
She was near the food. She was near the food. We thank Shelley for coming up and sharing. Does anybody else want to come and share a testimony this morning? Want you be able to come up and share? Paul's going to come up. Come on up, Paul. Thanks.
I got to say, I enjoyed the wedding, the message that was presented at the wedding, because it reminded Megan and I of our vows and the commitment that we made before God, to each other, and to God. And yesterday was, at least in the beginning of the day, was not the best moment in our marriage. So it was a really good day to spend at you guys' wedding and to see again, be reminded again the importance that Christ is as a foundation and growing to Christ. So it was encouraging for me. I think it was encouraging for Megan as well, because afterwards we were back on the same page. So, but just some words of encouragement and to you guys when you have those moments in your marriage where you're not on the same page, you're not on the same track, and you tend to get at each other's throats a little bit. Focus on God and get centered again, because He's never changing. He's always there. He's always there for you. And when we lose sight of Him, that's when we start having problems. So just as if you can recognize that and realize that when you get into those situations, just turn back to God and focus on Him, and He'll make your path straight.
I hope, just like what Paul's testimony was, that affected other people's hearts too, and just reminded you of that time when you made those vows and what the commitment is and what the foundation of that marriage is. And I know there was somebody else that was there at the wedding, and I'm not going to bring up the name, but I saw the countenance of that face. And when that person left, there was joy in their heart. Joy in their heart. And that was what it was about, wasn't it too? And I appreciate that. Anybody else want to come and share testimony this morning? Shannon.
I've probably testified before, just thanking the Lord for the church family. But this kind of piggybacks on Paul's, that, yesterday just being amongst everybody at the wedding, it felt like family. Shelly was being stubborn, and I just told her to get her butt out of the kitchen, and and then we hugged later. But I just, my side of my family is difficult to be around, mostly unbelievers, and a wedding would just, Lee and I's wedding, there were tears, there were fights, there were, people weren't there to support just what God was doing in our lives. And yesterday, it was definitely like that. And there is stress and frustration, and Caleb and Juliet, I think, just recognize that we're all family with you, and sometimes you need to vent about your, super detail-oriented husband or something like that. and we all kind of have those moments, but it's best to do that with a family of believers, so that we can hear you out. And then we can, remind you what God's trying to do in your life by growing you closer to somebody that's opposite than you. So I just praise God so much for our church family. And I was I'm always blessed by being part of it, but something like a wedding is just, His great glory comes through in that, I think.
Anybody else have testimony to add to that? Lee.
I was fighting it, but I guess I just gotta. Kurt and I were the best looking ushers at the wedding yesterday. Oh, no, there was some more. Get the obvious out of the way first. One of the takeaways from the wedding yesterday was Juliet's family, not only getting up and talking about, but on an individual basis, just saying how welcomed they felt, not only to the Schmidt family, which is a testimony to them, but to our church family. And the fact that they're just an extension of the bigger church, and they were welcomed in so well. And it's not something we focus on a daily basis, but Charity Baptist Church, that's charity is love, and just our ability on a daily basis to welcome people in and make them feel that way, I think it's just a testimony to this church, and I thank God for that.
Anyone else want to come and share a testimony? Brenda. One of the Brendas. We do have two Brendas in the room.
We do. And Skylar. Don't forget Skylar. Oh. Well, there's a couple of different things, actually. The other day I was having one of those I don't want to go to work days. And I just kind of redirected my thoughts to, think back a year ago right now when you didn't have this job and how much you would have, you wanted this job. And it's really more than a job to me. It is, it's I hope, one of the many ways that I glorify the Lord. And I had kind of forgotten that in the moment, in my poor me, I don't want to go to work attitude. And I redirected, did a couple of devotionals, read a couple of chapters in the Bible, and it was exactly what I needed. It was, there's going to be a change in this business somewhere. Come here, you. And that very day, we found out that it's only temporary, but Pizza Hut is closed down for renovations, and for about a month we hear, and we have just been slammed since then, which is a blessing. So it made me refocus on, this isn't just a job. You're doing this for God. You're not doing this for you. You're not doing this for the money. You're, making pizzas just because people need to eat, but that's all part of it, but that's not the reason. And that focus came back, and we just have had a really rocking week so far, and hopefully that will carry forward. And also, I know that lots of you have heard me talk about Skylar and Stephen's mommy, and there was a big separation because of my drinking. And having been sober for over a year now, we've almost completely mended fences, and she's going with us next week. We're taking the boys to Rapid City, to Reptile Gardens, and Ashley's going with us. And I just feel so blessed that we have her back in our lives as part of our lives and not just their mommy. And I'm just so grateful to God for giving me the strength to be patient and to know when the time was right to be able to talk to her the way that I was able to talk to her, and to bring us back together, because whether she's married to our son or not, she's always family. And it just feels good to know that she's starting to feel that way too. And I know that glorifies God, that that's mended. And I know that it does my heart good. And so I would ask that you guys pray that continues, and that our trip to South Dakota will be safe and happy and fun. And I appreciate your prayers.
Thanks, Brenda. Any other testimonies? Anybody want to come and share this morning? Wanted to thank Cody specifically for yesterday too. He took over some of the sound and some of the camera operations and stuff like that. And the sound, you might think, is pretty easy to run all that sound stuff, bring in a song, do everything but it actually requires quite a little bit. He's done it before too. He knows. Caleb knows exactly what it's like. So for Cody just to kind of step in and run the sound and stuff was good, and the cameras and stuff. Didn't even have to say anything about moving one of the speakers and all the sound stuff over to the reception area. It was just done, and it was set up and ready to go. And I thought in my mind, I got to get over there, and I got to get it moved, and I got to get it set up, and it was already completed. And we know that Cody and Kelly's wedding is going to be coming up, so we're going to be announcing that one here for several weeks too. They're the next ones that are coming, and I just thank the Lord for Cody too, because he came alongside our family and has just mingled in very nicely and has a love for each one, not only our immediate family, but church family, and always willing to be there and to help and to assist. So we appreciate him on that side yesterday too. I think Caleb and I, and they were working on the sound and stuff. You never know how it's going to go, but it seemed like it went right smooth through everything. So we thank him for that too. And I'm going to give you one more opportunity if anybody else wants to share a testimony before we go on to our next hymn. Okay, Brother Kurt.